Hello everybody, Vibes of a Wildlife here. Welcome to another video where we dive into the heart, humor, and unexpected life lessons from the animal kingdom. You think you own your home? That's cute. If you've ever lived with a cat, you know the truth. They run the place. You just pay the bills. Turns out this feline dominance isn't new. The ancient Egyptians didn't just tolerate their cat's attitude, they worshipped it. These little rulers weren't just pets. They were symbols of power, luck, and divine protection. Sacred beings, untouchable VIPs of temples and palaces. But how did a humble hunter go from chasing mice to lounging in the halls of pharaohs? And what can we learn from their confident, mysterious ways? Stick around, because we're about to uncover the rise of the most effortlessly powerful creatures in history. And hey, since we're talking about worship, do the modern thing. Bow to the almighty algorithm, tap like, share this with a fellow cat servant, and subscribe so you don't miss more wild wisdom. Let's get into it. Before cats were basking in royal luxury, they had a job to do. Picture ancient Egypt, hot, fertile, and crawling with grain-eating pests. Enter the wildcats, sleek, silent, and with the kind of hunting skills that make a lion look like it's on vacation. Farmers noticed these furry exterminators cutting down the rodent population and thought, hey, this little predator might be onto something. At first, it was just a business arrangement. Cats got an easy meal, humans got rodent-free food storage. Win-win. But it didn't take long for Egyptians to realize that these creatures weren't just useful. They had a certain presence. They weren't desperate for human approval, didn't beg for attention, and had an effortless confidence that practically demanded respect. And these weren't just any random cats. They were the ancestors of today's tabbies. Descended from the African wildcat, Felis libica. Picture a lean, sandy-colored feline with faint stripes, dark ear markings, and a tail tipped in black. Basically, take your everyday house cat, stretch it out a little, give it the attitude of someone who knows they're better than you, and you've got the original Egyptian hunter. Unlike modern domesticated cats, these wild ones were taller, faster, and entirely self-sufficient. But the ones who were a little less skittish, the ones who saw an opportunity in hanging around humans, they thrived. So naturally, humans did what they do best when they admire something. They started bringing them closer. First, cats made their way into homes. Then they climbed higher up the social ladder, curling up next to the wealthy. And before you knew it, they weren't just in the home. They were in the palaces, walking between the legs of pharaohs like they owned the place. Which, let's be real, they probably did. And that's the thing about cats. They don't ask for power. They just exist with such an undeniable sense of importance that people start treating them like royalty. The Egyptians saw it and thought, yes, this is divine energy. And to be fair, they weren't wrong. Admiring cats is one thing. Worshipping them? That's a whole different level. And the ancient Egyptians? Oh, they committed to it. At the heart of this feline devotion was Bastet, once a fierce lioness goddess, but over time, she took on the form of a sleek, poised domestic cat. A symbol of home, fertility, and protection. She wasn't just a deity to be respected. She was one to be feared. Mess with a cat, and you weren't just risking a scratch. You were courting divine wrath. And trust me, nobody wanted that kind of trouble. In fact, harming a cat, any cat, wasn't just frowned upon. It was a crime so serious it could cost you your life. Imagine ancient Egypt's legal system. Steal some bread, get fined, offend the gods, risk exile, kick a cat? Yeah, that's a death sentence. Priorities. The devotion didn't stop at rules. Egyptians built entire temples dedicated to Bastet, with Bubastis being the feline headquarters. These sacred spaces were filled with statues, golden trinkets, and real living cats, all treated as earthly extensions of the goddess herself. Worshippers left offerings, jewelry, food, even mummified mice, to keep the divine felines happy. Because when you believe cats hold spiritual power, the last thing you want is a grumpy one. And let's be real, the cats played their role perfectly. They lounged in temples like they knew they were sacred, soaking up the attention, the luxury, and the worship. If modern cats could remember their Egyptian glory days, you know they'd be holding it over us. Actually, maybe they do. But what happened to Bubastis? The Grand Temple of Bastet, once the epicenter of feline devotion, is now a ruin in modern-day Tel Basta, Egypt. Time, history, and human hands reduced it to scattered stones. But archaeologists have uncovered statues, inscriptions, and even cat mummies proving just how seriously the Egyptians took their feline loyalty. And while the temple may not stand tall anymore, its influence does. Because let's face it, the spirit of Bubastis still lives on. It's in the way your cat stares at you like a pharaoh, the way they demand offerings, treats, with a flick of the tail, the way they expect to be worshipped, no questions asked. Ancient Egypt may be long gone, but cats? Yeah, they never forgot who they are. What made cats so revered? Simple. They embodied everything the Egyptians admired. Strength wrapped in elegance. Independence without arrogance. Okay, with arrogance, but the kind you can't help but respect. They were graceful yet deadly, affectionate yet untouchable. Even the way they moved was a masterclass in control. Slow, deliberate steps, eyes that missed nothing, a flick of the tail that said, "I know something you don't." They never rushed, never fumbled. Everything was done with intention. In a world that prized balance and order, what the Egyptians called mat, cats were the living, breathing example of it. And the Egyptians? They didn't just admire this energy, they studied it, copied it. They moved like cats. Upright posture, smooth, measured steps, heads held high. Look at any ancient Egyptian artwork and you'll see it. No slouching, no stumbling, just effortless control. When you carry yourself like you own the place, people believe it. And speaking of looking the part, Egyptian fashion had a feline touch too. Gold jewelry that shimmered like a cat's eyes in the dark? Check. Kohl-lined eyes that made their gaze sharper, more intense? Definitely. Even their headdresses mimicked a lion's mane or a cat's ears. Because if you want to exude power, why not take inspiration from the best? But it wasn't just about looking regal, it was about being ready. Cats can lounge in the sun for hours, then explode into action in an instant. The Egyptians took this lesson seriously. Their warriors trained in patience, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Their archers learned to hold still, focused and poised like a cat before the pounce. Power wasn't about being the loudest, it was about knowing exactly when to act. And let's not forget the most important rule in the feline playbook: never beg for respect. Cats don't chase approval, they just exist with an undeniable air of importance, and people naturally follow. The Egyptians understood this. Pharaohs didn't demand loyalty, they expected it. Nobles didn't fight for status, they embodied it. Even everyday Egyptians carried themselves with a quiet confidence that said, "I belong here." At the heart of it all was mat, balance, harmony, knowing when to be still and when to strike. The Egyptians saw cats as the perfect embodiment of this wisdom. Confident but not reckless, graceful but not weak, independent but not alone. They didn't just love cats, they aspired to be like them. And to be fair, not a bad role model. Once cats secured their spot in Egyptian homes, they did what cats do best: leveled up. No more scraping by on whatever scraps they could hunt. These feline VIPs went from pest control to palace decor, lounging on silk cushions and getting hand-fed the finest meats. And because looking good is part of ruling the world, they were even adorned with golden jewelry, collars, earrings, the works. Some of them probably had a better wardrobe than the average person. And if you think modern cat lovers are dramatic, ancient Egyptians took it to a whole new level. When a beloved cat passed away, families shaved their eyebrows as a public sign of mourning. Imagine walking around ancient Egypt, eyebrowless, and everyone just nodding and understanding. Ah, yes, lost a cat. It was a whole thing. But wait, it gets grander. Regular pets get buried in the backyard. Pharaoh-approved cats, mummified and entombed with riches. Their humans wanted to make sure they had a comfortable afterlife, complete with offerings of food, milk, and even tiny cat statues to keep them company. Some tombs contained hundreds of mummified cats, all preserved like furry little pharaohs. And then there's the idea that cats have 9 lives, which, spoiler alert, wasn't something the Egyptians actually said, but they definitely set the stage for it. To them, cats weren't just animals. They were divine, supernatural, and basically immortal. They could cheat death, survive falls, and escape danger with the kind of finesse that made humans suspicious. Their connection to Bastet, the goddess of protection and fertility, made them symbols of both life and the afterlife. The number 9? That came later. Some cultures say 7, others say 6. But the Egyptians were the first to treat cats like they had one paw in this world and one in the next. And judging by the way cats still act today, like they own everything and are completely unbothered by danger, I'd say they're still living like they have a few extra lives to spare. The pharaohs may be gone, but cats? Still ruling. The temples are dust, but the attitude remains. Just swapstone altars for windowsills and royal feasts for overpriced gourmet kibble. But how did they go from Egyptian icons to global overlords? Simple. they found a way. Egypt tried to ban cat exports, but when has a cat ever followed rules? Traders smuggled them out, spreading feline influence across Greece, Rome, and beyond. The Romans, always practical, put them to work controlling vermin, taking them wherever their empire expanded. From Britain to the Middle East, cats slipped into new territories like they belonged there, because, well, they did. Europe wasn't always kind to cats. In the Middle Ages, their mysterious nature got them accused of witchcraft, leading to mass killings. Bad idea. Fewer cats meant more rats, which helped spread the Black Plague. Eventually, humans wised up. Cats were reinstated as essential rodent control, and their comeback tour began. By the 15th century, cats had secured a spot on ships, keeping food stores rodent-free. Sailors took them to the Americas, Asia, and Australia, where they effortlessly claimed new territories. By now, they weren't just pest controllers, they were companions. The 19th and 20th centuries sealed the deal. Selective breeding created fancy breeds, while the invention of cat food and litter boxes made indoor life irresistible. No more chasing mice in barns. Humans were trained to serve on demand. From Egyptian temples to modern couches, cats still act like they own the place. Because let's be real, they do. They demand food, steal your seat, and accept affection only when they decide. Thousands of years later, we're still living under feline rule. And just like the Egyptians, we wouldn't have it any other way. If the ancient Egyptians knew one thing, it's that cats weren't just animals. They were personalities. Confident, mysterious, a little demanding, but always worth it. They weren't just companions. They were protectors, symbols of power, and walking lessons in self-respect. Their message? Move like you own the room. Demand what you deserve, and never, ever question your place in the world. Because when a cat walks in, they don't wonder if they belong. They already know they do. So take a page from the feline playbook. Carry yourself with confidence, protect what's yours, and if someone doesn't appreciate your energy, give them the slow blink and move on. And speaking of appreciation, bow to the modern-day gods of engagement. Like this video, share it with a fellow cat enthusiast, and hit that subscribe button so you never miss another deep dive into the quirks of the animal kingdom. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time, remember, the pharaohs may be gone, but the real rulers of the world still nap on our furniture.